That Friday night unfolded with an intensity that etched itself into my memory, an experience I would never forget. The stillness of the house enveloped me, imparting a rare tranquility that washed over my senses. After a grueling week, fatigue enveloped me, and all I yearned for was the sweet embrace of sleep. As I reclined, I mused that nothing could shatter the stillness of the night. For 8 years, I navigated the journey of single motherhood following my divorce. My ex-husband and I shared a relationship that wasn't marked by animosity. Rather, we simply drifted in different directions over time. Raising my son Daniel on my own was the most fulfilling yet demanding experience I have ever encountered. He embodied everything I cherished: intelligence, humor, and kindness. Yet, it proved to be a challenging endeavor to embody both the roles of mother and father. That night, exhaustion enveloped me, leaving me with just enough strength to slip into my pajamas before surrendering to the embrace of sleep. The abode lay in stillness. After a long evening spent immersed in video games and diligently completing his homework, Daniel had finally retreated to bed, hours earlier than usual. At last, I found a fleeting moment of solitude within the confines of my room. The moonlight filtered through the delicate, undulating curtains, creating gentle silhouettes that danced upon the walls. As I nestled beneath the cozy blanket, I reveled in the comforting warmth, allowing my thoughts to drift freely. Recently, life had settled into a serene rhythm, a welcome contrast to the tumultuous year that had preceded it. Daniel and I had weathered many storms since his father departed, yet we had forged a fulfilling life together, even as Daniel approached his 20th year. Our bond remained strong. He consistently embodied a spirit of care and thoughtfulness. At times, I found myself concerned that he bore an excessive weight of responsibility for someone so young. A smile crept across my face as memories of him danced in my mind. His kindness enveloped me, and I couldn't help but feel fortunate to have him by my side. Yet this evening, fatigue enveloped my mind, rendering thought a distant echo. A weightiness enveloped me, lulling me into a state of drowsiness. Suddenly, a gentle knock echoed through the stillness of my bedroom door. I stirred from slumber, pondering whether this moment was merely a fragment of a dream. Yet again the knock resounded softly, pulling me from the depths of slumber. "Mother!" Though Daniel's voice was soft, it carried just enough to rouse me from my slumber. I blinked, striving to concentrate on the door. In the faint glow spilling from the hallway, I discerned the silhouette of Daniel. I propped myself up, striving to rouse my senses fully. "Daniel, what troubles you?" I inquired, my voice heavy with slumber. He hesitated at the threshold, taking a moment before stepping into the room and gently shutting the door behind him. He appeared hesitant about entering. I couldn't sleep," he confessed, his gaze cast downward as he lingered by my bedside. A sense of worry washed over me as I sensed that something was troubling him ever since the divorce. Daniel occasionally struggled with sleep, yet he seldom spoke of it. I understood that his father's departure had wounded him deeper than he let on, and this evening the sorrow was evident in his gaze. "Come here," I murmured gently, my hand invitingly, patting the empty space beside me on the bed. "If you wish, you may stay with me tonight." After a brief pause, he approached and settled down next to me. He lay on his side, turned toward me, and in the soft glow of the dim light, his weariness was unmistakable. He appeared to be vulnerable, a departure from his usual demeanor. "Would you like to discuss it?" I inquired softly. Daniel shook his head, his dark hair cascading over his eyes. "My only desire was to be near you." My heart swelled with warmth. It had been some time since Daniel had desired to be near me in this way, reminiscent of his younger days. I extended my hand, gently sweeping his hair aside from his forehead, a smile gracing my lips as I looked at him. "It's all right," I murmured, resting my hand gently on his shoulder. "Feel free to remain for as long as you require." He returned the smile. Yet there lingered a shadow in his eyes, a hint of something unspoken that weighed on him. I refrained from inquiring about it with him. Instead, I reclined once more, drawing the blanket around us, allowing the stillness to envelop and soothe us both. We lingered in that moment, savoring the tranquility that enveloped us. Daniel's breathing gradually eased, leading me to believe he had drifted off to sleep. Yet, in a gentle whisper, he spoke once more. His voice was barely audible. "Mother, do you ever find yourself longing for him?" His question caught me off guard, yet I understood he was referring to his father. It was a question I had evaded for years, one for which I lacked the words to respond. "I do sometimes," I confessed softly, yet the situation between us was far from favorable. "Daniel," he nodded, yet it was clear he yearned for deeper understanding. "Have you ever pondered how different things might have turned out?" he inquired. I let out a deep sigh, reflecting on the weight of past regrets, yet acknowledging the truth that we cannot alter what has already transpired. It is imperative that we advance. Daniel cast his gaze downward, idly toying with the fringe of the blanket. I find myself pondering whether there might have been an alternative path I could have taken, perhaps if I had been more adept in my actions. His words pierced my heart. I propped myself up and directed my gaze toward him. "Daniel, this was not your doing. You have not erred in any way." I spoke with utmost seriousness. He averted his gaze, his voice barely a murmur. At times I can't help but wonder if I had been different. Perhaps my father would have chosen to stay. With tears welling in my eyes, I embraced him fiercely. He hesitated for a moment, but then he embraced me, pressing his face into my shoulder. "Daniel, hear me out," I urged, my voice trembling. "Your father exercised his own agency. It was entirely unrelated to you. That choice belonged to him, and it was never yours to bear. You have consistently been more than sufficient for me." "Daniel," I murmured, my voice brimming with affection and comfort, "you mean the world to me." He leaned against my shoulder, yet I could still feel the tension radiating from him, the burden of years filled with unvoiced anguish and remorse. We embraced tightly, the stillness surrounding us a soothing remedy. Slowly, his body surrendered to the embrace of rest, each breath growing deeper as he slipped into the realm of dreams. Yet, as he lay beside me in tranquil slumber, my mind was a tempest, thoughts and memories swirling in the shadows. We had both weathered countless storms, and yet in the serene solace of that shared embrace, an unanticipated emotion began to awaken within me, a feeling I struggled to articulate. It was a warmth that enveloped my chest, a connection that resonated with a depth and intimacy surpassing the ordinary bond shared between a mother and her son. I attempted to cast it aside, concentrating instead on the cadence of his breath. Yet the sensation lingered, an unyielding murmur that would not be silenced. The morning crept in quietly, the tender light of dawn casting delicate shades across the room. Daniel lay beside me, his features serene and at ease, the strains of the night before appearing to fade into oblivion. I observed him for a brief moment, my heart brimming with affection and pride, yet that strange sensation remained, a constant undertow beneath the depths of my nurturing love. With a gentle grace, I eased myself from the warmth of the bed, mindful of his slumber, and descended the stairs to begin the morning ritual of breakfast preparation. The comforting ritual of preparing. A meal provided a semblance of stability, yet my mind continually drifted back to our midnight dialogue. Daniel had always possessed a certain sensitivity, yet I had not fully grasped the depth of how profoundly he had absorbed the void left by his father's absence. The burden of his guilt pressed down on my heart like a heavy stone, a weight I longed to lift, yet it wasn't merely the deed that haunted my thoughts. It was the gaze he had cast upon me. the vulnerability in his eyes, the unspoken yearning for something beyond the ordinary, and if I were to be truthful with myself, the warmth I experienced while holding him had awakened something profound within me, a bond that surpassed the confines of our familial ties. I endeavored to cast aside the thought, reminding myself that he was my son. Yet the feeling lingered, an unyielding whisper that would not be easily silenced. Daniel stirred from his sleep, his hair a chaotic mess, his tall, slender figure still, reflecting the remnants of youth. There was a subtle depth in his gaze, a glimpse of the man he was destined to be. I welcomed him with a gentle smile, attempting to conceal the remnants of the emotions that had stirred within me the night prior. "Good morning, sleepyhead," I remarked, setting a plate of pancakes in front of him. "Morning," he murmured, as he sank into his chair and began to savor his breakfast. We dined in a serene hush, the morning light spilled into the kitchen, enveloping it in a soft golden embrace. His gaze occasionally lingered on me, yet I opted to remain silent about the events of the previous night. He appeared more at ease, more like his true self, and I was reluctant to disturb the delicate tranquility we had finally discovered as silence enveloped us. "Thank you for last night, Mom." That was exactly what I required. His vulnerability took me by surprise. "There's no need for gratitude. Daniel, my unwavering support for you is a constant, regardless of the circumstances." He nodded, yet his eyes stayed locked on mine. A silent inquiry hangs in the atmosphere. Uncertainty clouded my thoughts as I pondered how to react, how to maneuver through the delicate transformation of our connection. A new intensity flickered in his eyes, a longing for a bond that surpassed the conventional limits of mother and son, and within me, a part one had long kept hidden, resonated with that same desire. Following breakfast, he remained at the counter, his fingers gliding over the surface, creating intricate patterns on the countertop. "Have you ever pondered how different things might have turned out?" he inquired softly, his tone laden with unexpressed feelings. I let out a heavy sigh as the burden of bygone regrets enveloped me. Perhaps my response was gentle, yet the past remains unalterable. Our only course of action is to strive for progress. Daniel nodded, his eyes locked onto his fidgeting fingers. At times I find myself pondering whether there was a better course of action I could have taken. You know? His voice emerged as a mere whisper, tinged with guilt and self-reproach. His words struck deep within me, compelling me to extend my hand toward him. I rested my hand on his shoulder, pulling him into a soft embrace. "Daniel, you haven't done anything amiss. This was not your doing." I offered him comfort, my voice heavy with feeling. He averted his gaze, his voice scarcely rising, above a whisper. At times it seems as though if I had been more deserving, perhaps my father would have chosen to stay. Emotion surged within me as I drew him nearer, embracing him with fervor. He hesitated briefly, then yielded to the warmth of the embrace, pressing his face into my shoulder. "Daniel, heed my words," I insisted, my tone resolute. "Your father's decisions belong solely to him. You are, and have always been, more than sufficient. His departure was not influenced by you in any way." He nodded slowly, his body melting against mine, the tension in his shoulders unwinding as he surrendered to the embrace. An unfamiliar warmth surged within me once more, a blend of relief, affection, and an unmistakable sense of connection. The connection we shared, initially characterized by the familiar titles of mother and son, appeared to be transforming, morphing, into an uncharted territory, an essence neither of us could completely grasp, yet both sensed deeply within. In that moment I embraced him tightly, allowing the silence to stretch, free from inquiries or justifications. Uncertainty loomed over the path this newfound closeness might take us, yet I sensed that the life we once knew was transforming, and this was merely the dawn of it all. as I reclined in the shadows, cradled by the comforting presence of my son's embrace, a deep understanding surged within me. The fragile equilibrium of our connection was in flux, poised on the edge of an unfamiliar and unexplored territory. A shiver of unease ran through me, a faint murmur of doubt regarding the implications of this change for us. Amidst the unease, an unmistakable thrill lingered, a realization that this was just the dawn of an adventure into uncharted territory. Dawn broke with a tender urgency, as the delicate fingers of sunlight slipped through the curtains, awakening me from my dreams beside me. Daniel lay in tranquil slumber, his expression calm and at ease, the weight of the prior night appearing to fade away. I observed him for a moment, my heart brimming with a deep instinctive affection, yet beneath that familiar warmth, an unnameable current pulsed, a feeling I struggled to articulate. The same strange sensation lingered at the periphery of my consciousness, echoing the feelings I had experienced the night prior, a mix of curiosity and unease that captivated and disturbed me in equal measure. With quiet steps, I eased myself from the warmth of the bed, mindful of his peaceful rest, and descended the stairs to engage in the comforting ritual of preparing breakfast. While I stood at the stove flipping pancakes with a deft hand, my mind wandered back to our late-night conversation. Daniel had always possessed a tender spirit, yet I had failed to comprehend the profound nature of his inner turmoil, the burden of his father's absence, the guilt he clung to, a secret concealed for far too long, now pressed down on my heart with an unbearable heaviness. Yet it was not merely that. A transformation occurred in his demeanor, evident in the way he sought refuge in my embrace, a longing for an intimacy that surpassed the conventional limits of mother and son. And if I were to be truthful with myself, I too had experienced it, a warmth that enveloped me when I held him, a solace that transcended mere maternal instinct. I set the thought aside, directing my attention to the task before me. He is merely a boy, I reminded myself. Your child. Yet the sensation remained, an unyielding murmur that would not be hushed. At long last, Daniel stirred from his deep slumber, his hands instinctively moving to wipe the remnants of sleep from his weary eyes. His hair was tousled, embodying a picture of youthful innocence, yet within his gaze lay a newfound maturity, a whisper of the man he was destined to become. I welcomed him with a gentle smile, striving to conceal the residual feelings from the previous night. "Good morning, dreamer," I announced cheerfully, setting a plate of golden pancakes in front of him. "Morning," he murmured, sinking into his chair and hungrily savoring his breakfast. We dined in a serene quietude, the morning light enveloping the kitchen in a gentle warmth, and I sensed his gaze upon me from time to time. Yet, I chose to hold my tongue, unprepared to explore the intricacies of the revelations from the night before. He appeared more relaxed, more true to himself, and I was reluctant to disturb the delicate tranquility we had finally uncovered, which shattered the stillness. His voice tinged with appreciation. "Thank you for last night, Mom. That was exactly what I required." His unexpected vulnerability caught me off guard. "There's no need for gratitude." "Daniel." I offered him words of comfort. "I will forever stand by your side, come what may." He nodded, yet his gaze remained, a silent inquiry reflected in his eyes, echoing the unvoiced feelings I had been wrestling with. His eyes possessed a profound depth, an intensity that surpassed the usual warmth of our mother-son connection. The day progressed without incident. Daniel withdrew to his sanctuary, engrossed in the realms of homework and video games, as I occupied myself with the rhythm of household chores. Yet, an imperceptible change had woven itself into the fabric of our shared space. The shift was subtle, a silent strain, a wordless recognition of the profound bond that had blossomed as daylight surrendered to dusk. My mind drifted back to Daniel, reflecting on his journey from boyhood to young manhood, and the intimacy we had experienced together the night prior. As I reflected deeply, it became increasingly clear that my emotions for him had transformed, surpassing the confines of a mother's affection. That evening, following dinner, we nestled into the couch to enjoy a film. The room was shrouded in a soft glow, the flickering images on the screen weaving playful shadows that danced across the walls. We lingered in quietude, finding solace in the mere existence of one another. Yet, as the film unfolded, I found myself increasingly attuned to his closeness, the gentle graze of his arm against mine with every slight movement. My heart raced, and I attempted to concentrate on the film, yet the tension between us was unmistakable, a quiet orchestra of unexpressed feelings. Midway through the film, Daniel leaned in, his arm brushing against mine. This time he remained still. The heat of his skin pressed against mine ignited a spark of consciousness within me. As I cast a fleeting look his way, our gazes intertwined. His gaze held a newfound intensity, mirroring the emotions I had endeavored to suppress throughout the day. In a moment devoid of deliberation, I extended my hand and grasped his, our fingers weaving together seamlessly. He offered no resistance. Rather, he enveloped my hand with a gentle squeeze, his thumb gliding in a languid circle against my skin. This unassuming act stirred a gentle thrill within me, a feeling that was both known and refreshingly novel. We lingered in that moment, hands intertwined in the soft glow, a quiet reflection of the evolving nature of our bond. It marked a pivotal moment, an instance of silent comprehension that surpassed the confines of our family dynamics. Uncertainty loomed over the horizon, yet I sensed a shift in the air. Dan had transformed, evolving beyond the confines of merely being my son. He was an enigma, a presence I cherished in a manner that transcended explanation. The film concluded, yet we lingered on the couch, the credits unfolding in silence around us. I rested my head on his shoulder, attuned to the rhythmic rise and fall of his chest with each breath he took. Though it was a modest act, it resonated with a deep sense of closeness, a quiet recognition of the bond that was unfolding between us. "Mom," Daniel murmured, his voice scarcely above a whisper. "Indeed, it brings me great joy to have you here." His words, both unadorned and deeply resonant, mirrored the feelings nestled within my own heart. I felt a sense of joy in his presence, a warmth that came from this unforeseen intimacy. The profound closeness I experienced was a blend of fear and thrill as I rested in the shadows, wrapped in the comforting warmth of my son's hold. An intense awareness enveloped me. The fragile equilibrium of our connection was in flux, poised on the brink of an unfamiliar and unexplored territory. A shiver of unease ran through my being. A murmur of doubt lingers regarding the implications of this transformation for us still. In the midst of uncertainty, an unmistakable thrill lingered, a realization that this was just the dawn of an adventure into uncharted territory. The dawn broke softly, as if nudging the world awake. The gentle strands of sunlight filtered through the curtains, awakening me from my dreams beside me. Daniel lay in a tranquil slumber, his expression calm and at ease, the weight of the prior night appearing to fade away. I observed him for a brief moment, my heart brimming with a deep instinctual affection. Yet beneath that familiar warmth, an unnameable current pulsed, a feeling I struggled to articulate. It was the same strange sensation that had lingered at the periphery of my consciousness the previous night, a feeling that both captivated and disturbed me. With quiet steps, I eased myself from the warmth of the bed, mindful of his peaceful sleep, and descended the stairs to embrace the comforting ritual of preparing breakfast. As I stood at the stove, flipping pancakes with practiced ease, my mind wandered back to our late-night conversation. Daniel had always possessed a delicate spirit, Yet I had failed to comprehend the profound nature of his internal battle, the way he bore the burden of his father's absence, the guilt he carried, a clandestine burden he had concealed for far too long. It now bore down on my heart, yet there was an even deeper significance to it. A transformation occurred in his demeanor, as he sought refuge in my embrace, a longing for an intimacy that surpassed the conventional limits of mother and son. In moments of honesty, I too had sensed it, a warmth enveloping me as I held him, a solace that transcended mere maternal instinct. I set the thought aside, directing my attention to the task before me. Heck is merely a boy, I recalled your son. Yet the sensation remained, an unyielding murmur that would not be hushed. Daniel at last stirred from his dreams, his hands brushing away the remnants of sleep, his hair in delightful disarray, embodying a scene of youthful purity. In his gaze there lingered a newfound maturity, a subtle glimpse of the man he was destined to become. I welcomed him with a gentle smile, striving to conceal the remnants of the feelings that had surfaced the night prior. "Good morning, sleepyhead," I sang, setting a plate of golden pancakes in front of him. "Morning," he murmured, sinking into his chair and hungrily savoring his breakfast. We dined in a serene hush, the morning light enveloping the kitchen in a gentle radiance. At times I sensed his gaze upon me, yet I chose to remain quiet, unprepared to explore the intricacies of the revelations from the night before. He appeared to be more at ease, more authentically himself, and I was reluctant to disturb the delicate tranquility we had discovered. At last he shattered the stillness, his voice imbued with thankfulness. "I appreciate what we shared last night. Mother, that was essential for me." His unexpected vulnerability caught me off guard. "There's no need for gratitude." "Daniel." I offered him words of comfort. "I will always stand by your side, come what may." He nodded, yet his gaze remained, a silent inquiry reflected in his eyes, echoing the unvoiced feelings I had been wrestling with. His eyes possessed a profound depth, an intensity that surpassed the comforting familiarity of our mother's gaze. Sunday passed by in a tranquil manner, devoid of any notable events. Daniel withdrew to his sanctuary, engrossed in the realms of homework and video games, while I occupied myself with the myriad tasks of maintaining our home. Yet the ambience that enveloped us had imperceptibly transformed. The shift was subtle, a hushed tension, a silent recognition of the profound bond that had blossomed as daylight surrendered to dusk. My mind drifted back to Daniel, to his evolution, from boyhood to young manhood, to the intimacy we had experienced the previous night. As I reflected deeply, it became increasingly clear that my emotions for him had transformed, surpassing the confines of a mother's affection. That evening, following dinner, we nestled into the couch, ready to immerse ourselves in a film. The room was shrouded in a soft glow, the flickering images on the screen weaving playful shadows that danced across the walls. In the stillness we found solace, relishing the quietude of our shared company. As the film unfolded, I found myself increasingly attuned to his closeness, the gentle graze of his arm against mine with every slight movement. My heart raced, and I attempted to immerse myself in the film, yet the tension hanging between us was unmistakable. A quiet orchestra of unexpressed feelings unfolded midway through the film, as Daniel leaned in, his arm brushing against mine. This time he remained still. The heat of his skin pressed against mine ignited a tremor of consciousness within me. Our gazes intertwined for a fleeting moment. His gaze held a newfound intensity, mirroring the emotions I had struggled to keep at bay throughout the day. In a moment devoid of deliberation, I extended my hand and grasped his, our fingers weaving, together seamlessly. He surrendered to the moment, gently squeezing my hand, his thumb gliding in a languid circle across my skin. The unassuming act stirred a tremor within my heart, a feeling that was both known and thrillingly fresh. We lingered in that moment, hands intertwined in the soft glow, a quiet reflection of the evolving nature of our bond. It marked a pivotal moment, an instance of silent comprehension that surpassed the confines of our family dynamics. Uncertainty loomed over the horizon, yet I sensed a shift in the air. Daniel had transformed into something more than merely my son. He was an enigma, a presence I cherished in a manner that eluded all attempts at explanation. The film concluded, yet we lingered on the couch, the credits unfolding without our attention. I rested my head on his shoulder, sensing the rhythmic rise and fall of his chest with each breath he took. It was a modest act, yet it resonated deeply, a quiet recognition of the bond that was unfolding between us. "Mom," Daniel murmured, his voice scarcely rising above a whisper. "Indeed, it brings me great joy to have you here." His words, unadorned yet deeply resonant, mirrored the feelings nestled within my own heart. I felt a surge of happiness at his presence, a joy for this unforeseen closeness, this fresh intimacy that stirred both fear and excitement within me. For the first time in what seemed like an eternity, I experienced a profound sense of being truly alive. In that moment, clarity reigned supreme, devoid of confusion or guilt, revealing the unassailable essence of our love. A love emerged, forged through countless shared moments of trust and understanding, a bond that transcended even the ties of blood. It was a love that flowed effortlessly, as essential as the air we breathe, as certain as the dawn breaking each day. We reclined, in the wake of our entwined fervor, the stillness broken solely by the gentle cadence of our inhalations. Daniel finally withdrew his gaze, seeking mine with a warmth that melted my heart. "Is everything all right between us?" he inquired, his voice a soft whisper that wrapped around the shadows. I nodded, momentarily speechless, my heart brimming with emotions that eluded expression. "Indeed," I murmured, my tone laden with unvoiced revelations. "Are we all right?" As the evening unfolded, with the remnants of dinner tidied away and the house embraced by a serene stillness, Daniel and I took refuge on the back porch, surrounded by the soothing calm of the night. The air held a refreshing chill, while the stars shimmered like diamonds strewn across the expansive tapestry of the night sky. After weeks of burden, I finally experienced a moment of liberation, as if the heavy weight that had been suffocating me began to lift away. Our silence spoke volumes, rendering words superfluous. Just the act of being close to him, basking in the serene splendor of the night, was all that was needed. The atmosphere was devoid of haste or tension, enveloped instead in a serene quietude that conveyed profound meaning. What transpired between us was a natural evolution, and I found solace in allowing it to develop. In a gentle unfolding, he reached for my hand, his touch igniting a warmth within me that spread like wildfire. With a soft smile, I clasped his hand gently, and we lingered in that moment together. Our relationship had flourished into something exquisite, something that satisfied a longing we hadn't even realized existed. It was on a drizzly afternoon in late autumn that the profound depth of our love finally dawned on me. The sky unfolded like a canvas painted in stormy grays, as the rain drummed a steady rhythm against the windows. Daniel and I nestled on the couch in the living room, where a fire crackled in the hearth, casting a warm glow that enveloped the space. Enveloped in a soft blanket, we found solace in the flickering warmth of the fire, our shared closeness forming a sanctuary against the tempest raging beyond.